Ugh. Gorgeous. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy December 17th, and welcome to your Horror Advent Calendar. Yesterday we maxed out our Christmassy levels with Silent Night, Deadly Night, so let's see if we can top it with today's pick. That beautiful poster. Today's holiday horror pick is the 2015 film directed by Ted Geoghegan, We Are Still Here. This movie is sick. I'm bearing the lead here. It's very cool, but before I get too far ahead of myself, let's read the letterbox summary. This house needs a family. After the death of their college-age son, Anne and Paul relocate to the snow-swept New England hamlet of Aylesbury, a sleepy village where all is most certainly not as it seems. When strange sounds and eerie feelings convince Anne that her son's spirit is still with them, they invite an eccentric, new-age couple to help them get to the bottom of the mystery. So this movie very much feels like your standard run-of-the-mill haunted house movie, but the deeper you get into it, it just becomes so much more than that. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's wonderful. The average review on Letterboxd is 3 out of 5 stars. I gave it, I think, 3.5 stars, so I just like it a little bit more than most people. And you'll see my friends on Letterboxd who have seen it largely like it a lot as well. So believe us. This was a movie that I really knew nothing about. I just knew that Barbara Crampton was in it and I wanted to see it. And I think that's the perfect way to go into this movie. I was just like, Barbara Crampton, haunted house, let's go. Because there's really so much to discover with this one and it's just a really fun trip. So I highly recommend going in as blind as possible. That being said, I'm gonna speak in the vaguest terms possible here. So let's see how we do. The things that I like about it, I love the atmosphere of this movie. It's why I included it on this list, because it's just so wintry and cold and frigid. It's one of those movies where when I see anyone step outside, I can feel how cold it is in my bones. And just to talk about other things that are in the summary, this is a really excellent example of grief horror, which is one of my favorite subgenres, with movies like Hereditary and Midsummer and The Ritual, and The Babadook. There's tons of great examples, but I think horror is just the perfect way to deal with such a messy and terrible emotion like grief, and this is a primo example of it, because this puts an entirely different spin on grief horror where it's also a really funny movie, which wasn't something I was expecting at all going into this. And that's just one of the wonderful surprises in store with We Are Still Here. Just to keep speaking generally, it's also just a really brutal and bloody movie in a way that is so delightful. It's a perfect combination of blood and guts and upsetting horror with comedy, and it's in a way that just makes this a really fun watch. We Are Still Here is also a movie that you can just feel has so much love put into it, that people really cared about this project. And this is a fact that has been confirmed by the director himself, which is always such a lovely thing to hear. This movie just truly feels like such a love letter to 70s horror, but in a way that also updates it with some great twists. It's just really excellently done. There's not a whole lot else to say. So this was a fun one for me where I kept trying to figure out where they were going with it because I felt so confident. I was like, surely I will know where they're going. But they got me, they had me. I'll say it. It's a movie that just makes me want to rent a big projector screen and just show this movie on my whole wall and just soak in all the vibes. It's great. While I am hard pressed to find things I don't like about this movie, I still managed to do it. I would say the friend characters that are mentioned in the summary, I don't love them so much, but then reflecting on it, I'm thinking it's also just really hard to be in a movie with Barbara Crampton and to not be Barbara Crampton. Like, that's a tough job. She's just so amazing. She's such a star. She is so captivating in every scene. It's impossible to look away from her. So I am so sorry to anyone in this film who is not Barbara Crampton. And I certainly wouldn't say that the other actors do a bad job in this movie, because I don't think that's the case at all. I just don't think I was as invested in those characters as I was in our two main characters. which is fine. Listen to me be so defensive about anything I didn't like about this movie. It's good. I cannot think of anything else that I think is a negative. I guess the only other thing would be if you aren't as into slow burn movies. This movie definitely doesn't come out the gate swinging, but I mean, once things get going, look out. I love this movie a lot. I had to include it on my advent calendar, even though it's perhaps not the most festive. It is supremely wintry though, so it fits the criteria. Definitely one I will have to be watching every winter as long as I live. I highly recommend curling up, a little cup of cocoa. That just sounds like the perfect day. Maybe I'll do that today. I know what I'm doing today. Let me know if you take my advice. Please let me know if you like it. I would love to talk about this movie more. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I will see you tomorrow.